Welcome to Becoming Awesome with Peter D. channeling his sacred higher self.
Hey, you beautiful people. I wanted to ask my sacred higher self to speak about moving through timelines. So I looked at my clock and it said, just a second. Now, seriously, I've got some good information coming about what it's like to know you have the ability to move to a different reality. So please put your comments below. This is a discussion. And please stay around to the end because there's going to be 3 points. You're going to want to hear them all. Here we go. Let me invite in my sacred higher self. Most beautiful souls, we always love the opportunity to connect with you, and we hope that you feel the depth, the magnitude, the love of connection. If you get nothing else from these videos, just know you are in this greater field of love because that is who you are. The channel Peter has asked us to speak about what keeps us fixed in a timeline. And this arose because he noticed someone close to him telling a story when somebody asked a question. They asked the question of what it's like in the state where Peter lives, and this person started speaking about the poverty that was out there and how hard it is to find jobs and things. Now, on one sense, that's all true. On another sense, telling that story defies your ability to create a better story and hence a better reality and moving into a better timeline. So let us speak of how this works. The first point we wish to make is that the timeline you are in is an exact expression of your unconscious programming. Your unconscious program, that which you just believe and take for granted, is expressed as this reality around you. Now, because science has for centuries tried to separate itself from spirit and consciousness, and your church has had a big role in that as well, science looked externally for proof on how things are in the world. And in a 3D explanation of reality, this is very good. Your science is very helpful at that. But when you move into higher dimensions and the ability to shift timelines, which is a function of being at a higher frequency, you're no longer locked into the density that you call reality. You're now in a higher place and you can move your tracks of consciousness and hence move the experience you feel around you. As you do that, you're going to start to understand that you can't talk about things in the world as if they're cut and dried facts. They are perceptions. Now, yes, you could go look up poverty numbers for New Mexico and find out that it's ranked 49th or 50th every year in most categories related to wealth in the United States. And that is a reality. But is it the reality of everything? Or is it the reality of the mass consciousness that has decided to express and act in poverty? And that's what we're here to speak of. Now, it is interesting because the channel Peter knows and the person he was with knows that they can create, they can manifest, they can go into meditative states, envision what it is they wish to see, and then start to see it form around them. It's basically the steps of prayer. You see it in real life. Use all your senses. You imagine it, you feel it, you taste it, and you give gratitude that it's already happened. You don't ask for it. You give gratitude that it's already happened. And that is a very effective means of prayer. And when you do that, you're going to find that not only will these things start to come to you, but even if they don't physically manifest, you feel better because you're vibrating at that frequency of abundance. Now, in this particular case, the person who is telling the story of poverty knows how to do that and has done that. And when Peter challenged this person about that, the response was, yeah, but I know it's a spiritual thing, but this is the physical thing. So the question is, are you putting your unconscious beliefs and programs into this is reality and therefore it's the way it is? And if you're doing that, then why are you even listening to this video? Why are you even trying to see a spiritual world? You know, it's a 3D thing. You should go out there and work hard and live by the rules of it instead of changing into this belief in a new timeline. I think it's like being a Sunday Christian. This was something Peter encountered in church a lot, where the reverend or the pastor would sit there and say, okay, it's not enough to come to church and do this for an hour on Sunday. You got to do these principles of how to live as a Christian the rest of the week. Your real test starts when the rubber hits the road, when your tires go out of the parking lot of the church. And that's how it is, quite literally. Are you going to sit there and say, okay, this is nice spiritual stuff to do, mentally to do when I'm in a meditation and it feels good, but then I go back to this terrible reality? So we're here to tell you, you have to hold. You don't have to do anything, but you can hold the vision regardless of the reality. And that brings us to our second point. You assert your consciousness. See, at some point you have to choose, am I my mind or am I my consciousness? And in fact, a video was recently released where we spoke to you about why don't you try doubting your doubt? Why don't you choose to be a consciousness that can reflect back on itself about doubt rather than just, oh, I doubt it, so it must be real. You see, we automatically tend to believe that because it's in our mind, it's our reality. And therefore it is us, right? The old, I think, therefore I am. So if you have that unconscious program running, then of course you're not going to believe that you can shift into a timeline where things are more free. And you can tell the story. In the incidents that we are speaking of, when confronted, the person said, it doesn't feel right to say it. It's different. And that's the whole thing. It doesn't feel right because there is a lifetime of momentum of living in a reality where this is how money worked. And these are how all the experiences got cataloged and all the memories and the emotions were put into place. And that then, of course, doesn't feel right to tell a different story, to tell a better story. But at a certain point, you have to assert, I am my consciousness. And if you are your consciousness, then you can tell the story you wish to tell. And that is going to move you into the new timeline. You still think so often that, oh, I've got this vision of what this timeline's going to look like. It's all going to be peace and stuff. And that's one way to get there, but that's trying to apply intent to get into something in a bigger dimensional thing where intent really doesn't work as well as allowing. As you move into the higher dimensions, you clear your blockages, you clear your densities, and then possibilities appear, and then you find yourself in those possibilities, and that's when you're in the new timeline. And of course, that timeline is going to align with what you're unconsciously holding, which is why it's so important to tell these stories of what you want rather than what you think is. And then when you're triggered by your recital of what you want and it goes into that discomfort about, well, that's not what is, that's when you move your charges, right? How many videos have we produced? Clear, 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 move your charges. This is a way to get access to what it is that's still holding you back. What is that reality that you've decided to surrender to rather than allow others to be? And it's simply because you have unmoved charges, which create unconscious programming, which then reflects everything back to you, and then you call it the way it is, and then you say, I'm in the poorest state in the union. So you tell a new story. And you choose to do that because you are a consciousness that can do that. And this brings us to our third point, which is why you subscribe to what you call reality. Our third point is you are unconsciously choosing to master misery. So stop it. Peter had a beautiful teacher. Put a little dot in a circle, put a big circle on the blackboard, put a little dot, said, that dot's you, the circle's all reality. And they drew a line from that dot to the edge of the circle and said, this is everything you've mastered. And guess what it's called? Misery. You've mastered misery. Yet all this stuff is out there. All this other stuff is out there. And we think in 3D, oh, well, I'll go master these other things. Really, all you have to do is let go of your misery. And then beneficence, the universe is designed to be benevolent. It will start to just give you all these things. But it can't, because your unconscious programs has you locked on that track, locked on that road of this has to be misery. Now, Peter and many of his friends have seen this happen often, where they'll be in conflict with somebody and they will butt their heads. And so Peter knows enough, oh, I need to go move my charges. So he'll go and clear the hurt, the pain that was caused, and then creates forgiveness. Now, this was a big concept for him to understand that forgiveness takes place immediately once the pain that was caused is felt. It doesn't matter if you caused it and somebody else received it or somebody else caused it and you received it. It doesn't matter. As soon as you experience it fully, the pain that was caused, the pain is then released. It's no longer held in the dense energy. It's now released. Forgiveness is automatically there because there's nothing left to forgive. It's no longer in your energetic field. A result of this is that Peter has often encountered individuals who he used to butt heads with, but because he moved his charges and had cleared the dense energy, he can then speak freely about what happened and there's no energetic input there. And the person will sit there and have no memory of it. What are you talking about? That never happened. I never did any of those things. And Peter first was stunned when this happened, but he's seen it happen enough, and he started bringing it up in his meditation circle, and his friends started noticing the same thing because they also know how to move their charges. And it was soon revealed to him that he was flipping timelines. He was flipping timelines. Because he was no longer held to the dense energy of the negativity that went between him and that other person, that got fully expressed and released, so then he could automatically move to the place where it was all nice, without even making a conscious choice, because the unconscious program was now, this is nice. And so he got to experience that. And you're going to experience that too, because you're going to be in new timelines. So that's how you get to the timeline, is you understand that you can release and you stop mastering your misery. And then you just can receive. And you no longer have to guide yourself to these better things. The same things with poverty. You feel all your charges. You experience what it's like. You see what unconscious beliefs you have that come up as you move your charges. And then you're no longer held in that reality. And all of a sudden you're in a reality of abundance. And if you're not moving to that reality of abundance as soon as you would wish, then what's being reflected back to you? Your unconscious holdings. You're always mastering what you see around you. That is always your creation. When you acknowledge that and choose, oh, well, I'm mastering misery, then you can go master something else. You can make that choice by clearing your unconscious programming. Now, another little tidbit we want to add in here is the person that Peter was interacting with that triggered this whole chain of events that we're channeling about now, has a tendency to retell stories about things that have happened to this person. And when the story is being retold, it's done dramatically with energy. And this was a good reflection to Peter, because he was told by many, many people, do you understand the tone you're talking with? Do you understand what you're doing? And he did not. He was oblivious and numb to it because he didn't understand tone at all. And now it was reflected back to him by a person telling a story and going, and then they went, nye, 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 and he would just crumble on the inside because it would trigger all the memories of abuse and stuff he suffered as a child and has not yet fully cleared. And it would impact him. And he started reflecting and realizing that this other person then tells these stories and does it for the dramatic flair because it makes it more dramatic. But what does it do? It recreates the trauma. It recreates it because it already was experienced, and now I have to tell my life because it was true and it's me, and I'll be lying otherwise, just like the poverty thing. It doesn't feel right to not say what's going on. So you have to tell it with the same intensity. And then what do? You just recreate it. You just repattern it. Oh, it was so sucky the first time. I better do it again so that you understand how much I sucked here. And then you can have sympathy for me. Oh, it'll all be better. So let's all just keep telling the story of how terrible it is. And let's do it in a terrible way so the energy imprints one more time. You see how that works? You think you're telling your story and you think you're sharing and connecting with people. And what are you doing? You're just recreating and reliving the trauma. Oh, I got this line of misery. Let me go on it again and again and again. Yeah. Can you tell your story neutrally? Yeah, this happened. So-and-so did this. Yeah, I was uncomfortable when it happened. Can you not tell it and tell a better story? That's something we try to recommend if you need to tell your story to get some connection with someone, to let them know what's going on about you because you feel that's important. Can you tell it once and then not tell it again? Why relive the trauma? Now, we're not saying deny it and bury it. You got to clear it. You got to fully move your charges. If you don't do that, then all this doesn't work. It's just putting icing on what would be called a turd cake. Okay? So you got to move your charges. But if you do that, then why tell the story any other way other than, oh yeah, it happened. So what? Big deal. Peter had the blessing of this. He still tells stories of hardship and because he likes the significance of it. And he likes the sympathy and pity people give him. And he likes to even tell stories like we're telling now because it makes it sound like he's smart. He loves all that, okay? But he drove his car into a ditch last week. And it was a pretty scary thing because other people were in the car and it was icy and it was all this crazy angle and stuff. And surprisingly to him, he was not upset about it. And when the people would ask him about it, particularly the people in the car, and he's like, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I damaged my car this way. It's a nice lesson. And they were a little bit stunned that he was just okay with it. Now, he was okay with it because he didn't have any backlog of charges. He's been at this game long enough to know he doesn't have to shoot on himself. He knew he had this experience. He knew it was not a pleasant experience. He moved his charges. And then why tell any other story other than, if necessary to even tell it, because it was with the people that were involved with it. Why tell any story other than, yeah, that happened. Do you understand? There's no emotional charge that's moving in there to lock you into that timeline of, oh, these are accidents and I'm a victim. It's just another experience in life, another opportunity to grow and to see. So we hope you understand what we're trying to tell you. You're not going to get to a new timeline by figuring it out and doing the correct incantations and holding the correct beliefs. You're not going to get there that way. You're going to get there by releasing what it is in your unconscious that keeps you in your current timeline. Unless your timeline is like super bliss, like, oh yeah, good things happen to me because that's how I live, then you just stay there. But if it's not that case, then what do? You look at the stories you're telling to see how they keep you in that state of victimness. You then choose to be your consciousness rather than that story, even if that was reality and what happened. You choose to be your consciousness and you tell a better new story or no story at all. And as you're in this process, of course, you be aware of what emotional charges come up. And those are what you need to clear. And you release those with so many videos on Peter's website to help you with that. Okay? You clear those, and now you're open to the beneficence of the universe. It is benevolent. Spirit's trying to send you so much, so many goodies, but it can't get in there because of where you're at with what you allow or do not allow. So, we are so blessed to have been with you during this time. We know that the new timelines are appearing right and left, that we are moving to that paradise Earth, the 5D ascension of the entire planet. We know you are helping it along, and we hope that this message inspires you. It's not to criticize you. If you get nothing other than this message, then you are loved, you are making progress. If you do get something from this message, then you know you can reflect and choose what story you tell. And then you will be your consciousness instead of your mind, instead of that 3D reality. Many blessings on you. Wow. This was a interesting experience I had. I'm glad my sacred self can speak about it in a way that is not triggering or blaming. And I hope that you got something out of this. The big takeaway is tell the story of where you're going, not the story of where you've been. That's my big takeaway from all this. I think you know that you are your consciousness deep down, and that consciousness is in the treasure trove, the kingdom of heaven, and it's available to you. Okay, so please do your due diligence. All right, please give me a like, give me a subscribe to help get the algorithm out there, get more of this out there, so more people can benefit from these teachings. If you're in conflict with somebody, maybe they want to see this video, and it'll help both of you. So share this where you think it's appropriate, and thank you. I'll catch you next time around. Blessings on you. Many blessings on you.